Hello and welcome to the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's my dad. Dad! We moved our studio around a little bit.
It is great.
We got a nice backdrop. We're at like a little desk thing right now. Yeah. And we're preparing for our first draft, what feels like months.
Yes.
As we kind of get used to this new studio environment with the Black Friday posts of all the MLB free agents, top 50, we dive into offseason needs. That's coming up next week, everybody. But this week, Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt got named the MVPs of the AL and NL this year, Dad. And it got me thinking about, they're both first-time winners, I believe. It got me thinking about what are some other great first-time winners of the MVP. And there's dozens. There's dozens of each position.
Big names.
Not many have won it multiple times. So I thought we'd create a little baseball team like we do, of one-time MVP winners in baseball. Correct. Now, this is just the regular season. No LCS, World Series MVP, just a full regular season MVP. So people like Bonds and Pujols and Trout, we're not talking about them. We're not talking about some of these people. Some of these names will be familiar. They're going to be in the Hall of Fame. But there's plenty that have had just like a stellar MVP year that are nowhere close to the Hall of Fame. I think Josh Donaldson, his third base
Willie
season.
Hernandez?
Sure, absolutely. We're going to be drafting each position, a starter, a reliever, and obviously eventually like a DH, an extra hitter. I don't think anyone's ever won the MVP from just their DH role. So really just any kind of additional hitter.
That is correct.
You can kind of say.
One got a partial credit for that.
Sure, yeah, Shohei Ohtani. Which could be he's an eligible name on this draft. He could be your pick for DH if you wanted him to, or starting pitcher, depending on your argument. Mm-hmm. Pretty much the MVP award has been a thing since 1931. There were a couple times where it was talked about before then, but it wasn't really a yearly thing until the 30s. So you might hear some older names from the 50s or, even 60s on here. Definitely some recent names as well. Dad, like we always do, we pull a card first to see the draft order. Is a snake draft just between the two of us. Definitely some interesting and fun and sometimes even personal names on here. Some Cubs, some Red Sox, some Mariners, all that good stuff. Dad, I will let you draw first, and then we will jump into it.
I've won 90% of these, by the way.
I think he has, actually. Some crazy figure. The King of Clubs. Show the camera, Dad. Feel free. And then I'm going to
pull a deuce.
Pull 7. So I'm assuming you won at the first overall pick?
Yes.
All right. Yes. While my dad selects his first pick, we take that person's MVP stats. So, for example, Josh Donaldson, again, we don't care about how bad he was for the Yankees this year. We only care about the MVP year's stats. And at the end, we'll kind of see who drafted a better MVP team. Dad, who is your pick?
Willie Mays.
What year for Willie Mays?
I think it's 50s or I think 60s.
Willie Mays? I thought Willie Mays was a multiple home run.
No, just once.
I'm going to look it up. I already got a challenge.
I was shocked.
Willie Mays has 2 MVPs.
How in the heck?
2-time MVP. That's why he wasn't on my list.
Okay.
Told you, my list was conclusive. He got it in 54 and 65.
Okay. I'll change that. I apologize. Roberto Clemente.
Roberto Clemente in 1966. I don't know if you wrote down all the stats. I love all the stats. I'm a big, your average, your on base, your slugging. Roberto Clemente was an all-star that year, a Gold Glover as well, played right field, so that's the position that you've got. So if you move around a lot, like your Craig Biggio, but whatever year you've got your MVP in is a position on this board. So right field, I assume probably not the DH role for you. Roberto Clemente hit 29 home runs that year, 119 RBIs, batted .317, .360, and .536. Quite an impressive on base and slugging. Awesome. I want to double check one thing. I'm just curious on Paul Goldschmidt's. I'm not drafting him, but just taking a look at his incredible MVP year and how things have changed. He had a great batting average. He led the league in slugging as well, so deserves his MVP. Dad, you have drafted Roberto Clemente.
Yes, I have.
Great pick. He was not in my top 2 for right field. I know.
I didn't want to do that to you.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, I think there are a few positions that have tons of depth and some that don't. Center field is one of those positions. Ken Griffey Jr. in 1997, bar none, is the best single-season MVP winner. Obviously, Willie Mays is clearly contention. But in 1997, unanimous MVP vote, All-Star, Gold Glove, and Silver Slugger. Batted .304, 382 on base, 646 slugging. Insane numbers there. 56 home runs, 147 RBIs. So, with my second pick, I will get my man, my hero, my complete icon of the 90s, Ken Griffey Jr. Have so much of his stuff, and pan just a little that way, you can see a whole thing of Ken Griffey Jr. bobbleheads. That's a great pick for me. I'm very happy with that. And because I lost the pick, Dad, of the cards, I get to pick third. And I am... I am going to take what I think has not a lot of depth at it either. I'm taking Jackie Robinson at second base in 1949.
Shit.
Dad, in 1949, Jackie Robinson, of course, was an all-star. 16 home runs, but 124 RBIs. 37 stolen bases. That's one of my higher ones on this MVP list. Batted .342, 432 on base, and 528 slugging. Get out of here as a second baseman. It's Jackie Robinson in 49.
He was my choice as well.
As I said, the no depth. All right, so I have a starting second and a starting center fielder. Dad, it is back-to-back to you.
Well, I am going to go pitching.
Oh, smart.
There's one pitcher that I grew up with that will always be fantastic, Bob Gibson.
In 68.
Yes. So that is my draft choice for a pitcher. And he was phenomenal for many, many years. 67, 68 were just great years. So...
In 1968, Dad, he, of course, was the Cy Young and the MVP winner. Several of the pitchers also got Cy and MVP. But he was 22-9 with a 1.12 ERA.
Beat that.
My guy will not, openly. 268 strikeouts. My guy will beat that for strikeouts. And he threw 304.2 innings. My guy will beat that. So it'll be a really interesting debate for pitchers. I think the two top pitchers were really close.
I know where you're going to go with yours.
I'm sure you do. All right, Dad, it's back to you again.
Third baseman, George Brett.
George Brett was my number one in that position. Great pick. Tell me more about George Brett, Dad.
You know what? He's a phenomenal hitter. What he did for Kansas City during their glory days was he was high average, great defense, good little pop. But what he did was he drove the ball to all fields, and he always hit 330 and above through his heydays with the Royals, and is a legend in Kansas City.
Quite a legend. This wasn't. I think there was some depth. I'm surprised you didn't take Chris Bryant, Dad. Totally kidding. He had a good year, but there's nowhere close to the draft. George Brett, Dad, in 1980 was an All-Star, Silver Slugger, batted .390, one of the highest averages we'll talk about today. On base was .454, insane, and his slugging was .664. Just an absolutely incredible year. The one note that I did think was so interesting with George Brett, and I really wanted to highlight it, and probably the reason I put him above my pick for third base, but he only struck out 22 times that year. The entire year.
Unbelievable.
Only 22 times. Like legendary stuff. That number is what sticks out to me about George Brett. If he wasn't hitting the ball, getting obviously hits, he put the ball in play and made the field make a play.
Yeah, he was legendary for driving the ball in the gaps down the line. Even with today's shift and everything else that we'll see next year, you couldn't defend him because he was such a great hitter at all fields.
Yeah.
So I do remember him just driving teams crazy. So they had a great team back then too.
Yeah. Dad, I'm going to have to take a Triple Crown winner next. Not many of these MVP winners were Triple Crown. There were a few, not to give away any super features, but like Joe Medwick from 1937. Clearly that was on your board. But I got to pick a Boston Red Sox. I'm picking Carl Yastrzemski from 1967.
Damn.
Just after the great year Roberto Clemente had in 66.
Shoot.
He was an all-star and a Gold Glover like Clemente. He hit more home runs and more RBIs than Clemente at 44 and 121. He had a higher average. Again, he's playing left field in case anyone at home didn't know that. He had a higher average than Clemente the year before at 326, higher on base at 418, and a higher slugging at 622. Was the league leader in all of those, I think almost all of those categories, but I know it was for average home runs and RBIs.
And great defense.
Yeah, and the Gold Glove. So Carl Yastrzemski, there was a lot of depth openly at left field, but he just, you can't ignore a Triple Crown winner, and I feel really good getting him in my third round, actually. Dad, I could have round out the outfield if I wanted to, but I think I'm okay right now. I'm looking at first base. I'm thinking that could be a smart call or a shortstop. Let me look at my board again. I think I can wait a little bit on first base. I'm going to go ahead and take shortstop. And for the old-timers watching, this young guy is going to pick Lou Boudreau. Boudreau. Am I saying that wrong?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's a French guy. 1948, Cleveland. Only had, I know, just boasted about George Brett. Lou had 9 strikeouts for the entire season. 9 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Batted .355, on base percentage 453, slugging .534. Kind of average numbers for MVP, but when you consider his position, and he hit 18 home runs and 106 RBIs. There's only really one other person in that category, in my opinion, that comes close, and Lou was just, I get 48 Lou and 49 Jackie, so I got a little old school up the middle. That's kind of how I think of second baseman and shortstop. I don't think of power hitters like the Carlos Correa at shortstop, so I'm really happy to bring some attention to late 40s baseball. Dad, back to you.
I am going to go power. The latest member of MVP's American League, Aaron Judge.
Whoa, okay.
He had quite a year.
He did. He broke the home run record for the AL.
And then Ichiro Suzuki.
Now, who is playing right field? Because both are right fielders.
Judge is center.
Oh, okay. So because he split his time this year?
Right.
Okay.
And his MVP was in center field.
Well, they split it, I think.
Well,
yeah.
He's my center fielder.
Okay.
And then Suzuki will be my left fielder.
175 strikeouts, Aaron Judge. Sure.
Yeah, my outfield.
Suzuki's never played left field. And his MVP year was in right, 2001.
Do I need to choose another outfielder for a left fielder then?
Well, I would say, so Ichiro Suzuki's 100% right. I'm looking up Judge if he can be your center fielder.
He is.
I know, I'm just saying if he played enough time.
Well, the majority of the year he was a center fielder.
It was split, but yes, center fielder does have just a couple more games than right, so Judge in center is fine with me.
Okay, yeah, I can change Suzuki if you want me to.
No, Suzuki would be your right fielder.
Okay.
Who's your outfield right now? That just Judge
Clemente.
in center? Ooh, okay, so yes, so it's Suzuki would have to be, one of those would have to be your DH, Suzuki or
Okay, I'll
Clemente.
do Suzuki my DH.
Okay. It's such a tough situation.
Okay.
Gold Glove that year and you're putting him as DH. Interesting.
Is he? I'd rather have Clemente in right than Suzuki, believe it or not.
Both were great.
I know.
Both were absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
Ichiro's a DH. All right, well, that leaves me. I can wait on my right field then. You still need a left fielder then?
Yes, I have somebody in mind.
Wow, easy. Ken Griffey Jr. versus Aaron Judge. Jesus, that's an easy pick. Going to win that one, everybody. Okay.
Did he have more than 60 home runs in a year?
No, but he struck out 175 times, and his average did not get Triple Crown. He had a good year, obviously, but he didn't break any records for the average. At 311, he was a Silver Slugger. Wasn't a unanimous MVP pick. I mean, that's kind of, right there already. Clearly, people disagree with just Judge being the MVP. No one disagreed with Judge or Griffey in '97.
Okay.
We'll let the people comment. The non-Yankee fans and honestly the non-Mariners fans can have at it. Griffey in '97 or Judge in 2022. Pretty easy pick for in center field. Okay. I can sit on right. I can sit on third. I can sit on pitcher. I'm going to go, therefore, I was just about to say first base again. I want to relook at catcher. Even though I am wearing an Ivan Rodriguez shirt, this was obviously Ivan Rodriguez got it when he was a Ranger, wearing him as a Tiger. I am going the Twin Cities. Joe Mauer. 2009, Joe Mauer just was better than 1999 Pudge. Feel free to have that debate with me. They were all both All-Star Silver Sluggers and Gold Gloves. But Joe had 28 home runs, 96 RBIs, and in every category after that was better than Ivan. 365 batting average, 444 on base, and 587 slugging. All better than Mr. Ivan Rodriguez that year, or in his MVP year.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go... Yeah, I can also sit on my DH. That is tough. I am going to have to take first base while it's still there, and I just have to make that decision between my two guys. Damn. This is going to be tough, and if you take who I think you're going to take, it's worth the argument, but I'm going to take 1969 Willie McCovey.
Son of a gun!
I think out of all the first base MVPs, there's been a lot. Like I said, there's a good amount of depth at this position. Will McCovey had 45 home runs, 126 RBIs. Only one MVP first baseman beat him in those categories. One timer. I think Albert Pujols beat him in both those. But then he had just a fantastic average that year at 320, 453 on base, and 656 slugging. So I'm going Willie McCovey.
He was my choice.
I figure that's why I snagged him from you.
Yeah. And that was in Candlestick, by the way, which is a very hard park to hit. The wind was incredible there.
Just want me to win, apparently. All right. Add that detail. All right, Willie McCovey's at first, and Joe is behind the plate.
All right, I'm going a little bit different. I'm going relief pitcher, Dennis Eckersley.
In 1992?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Because that way I got the best bullpen by far.
Dennis was also a Cy Young that year. Very few relief pitchers have been Cy Young, and very few relief pitchers have been MVP.
Yeah. I mean, my pitching staff now is Gibson and Eckersley. You think you're going to win any games against those guys?
Yes. Yes, I do. Because you're going to have a fight for when Gibson doesn't want to give up the ball, and then he'll give up a home run in the ninth.
Okay.
Eckersley stats: 7-1 that year, 1.91 ERA, 69 games. The reason I'm saying that is because my pick is the opposite. 51 saves. My pick will not beat that openly. 93 strikeouts and 80 innings pitched. Clearly extremely dominant. Pretty much only did one inning games. Occasionally went 1.2, 1.1, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But didn't have a lot of long relief. Truly just a closure that year.
Yes.
Oh, great batter. Great pitcher. But I think my guy... Going to bring a little respect to my guy.
Okay.
All right, who's your other pick?
Now, the other pick is a shortstop, but I need clarification. Have Alex Rodriguez, and I think the year he was MVP, he was a shortstop. He didn't make the switch third base. They got traded to the Yankees. So he won the...
I will check the clarification.
Okay, he was with the Rangers.
Well, he's a 3-time MVP, so he's out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have him on my board, but I thought I'd just avoided steroid people, but 3-time that Alex has won.
Well, then I'm going Barry Larkin at shortstop.
Barry Larkin at shortstop was not my number 2 pick, but I will read the stats for the people at home. Love Barry Larkin. 1995 MVP year. All-Star Gold Glove shortstop. All-Star Gold Glove and Silver Slugger. Not a lot of power. Barry Larkin never had a lot of power. 15 home runs, 66 RBIs. That's the reason I didn't choose him. Kind of low in those categories. But batted 319. On base was 394 and 492 slugging. I think most MVPs are in the 5s for that. So his defense that year on a really good Reds team was certainly helpful to that MVP season.
And a leader in the clubhouse.
It was also the year after the strike, so it was really good for him to break out and get some highlights going back when baseball wasn't in vogue, right before the chase of '98.
Okay.
All right. Well, let us continue, Dad. You took Larkin. I'm not sharing any of my opinions or my second picks yet because obviously there's still that DH role. I got my second baseman. I got Lou at short. I got Joe behind the plate. I got Willie over at first. Got Yaz over in left. I got Griffey in center. I am feeling it. I am going to round out the field then. We are going to do Chipper Jones at third base. One of my absolute favorite players. I get to see this MVP season. 1999, Chipper Jones. Let's read the stats. He was a Silver Slugger that year, one of the few MVPs that did not have an All-Star year, which is so weird considering he just had a monster second half. 45 home runs, 110 RBIs, batted .319, on base of .441, slugged .633, which all were in the neighborhood of the on base and slugging as Brett. Brett just had more hits and Chipper had more home runs, so kind of just weighing those two things, but I thought they were the clear 1-2 in that category. All right, then I will take Larry Walker in right field, 1997. I have bits and pieces of this, but this is also, I have 1997 really is a theme of my outfield, both MVPs from 1997. I don't think either of us have drafted the same MVP year for two different players yet, Dad. All-Star, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, 49 home runs, 130 RBIs, shy obviously of Griffey that year, but batted had a higher batting average than Griffey at .366. Larry Walker somehow not a first ballot Hall of Famer. .452 on base and .720 slugging. All of those numbers were better than Ken Griffey, and you slept on them. You took Judge and Suzuki. Larry Walker is my pick for right field.
I had him on my list.
He was on the list, on the board.
All right, my turn.
Mm-hmm.
First base, Paul Goldschmidt.
You're taking another 22.
Yeah, I got a younger squad.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really hard to put these seasons in perspective. And I think that could be what hurts your draft. For the people listening at home, there was some contentions with Shohei and Judge, and Paul Goldschmidt, I think, earned it. He was my pick to win the MVP. Tell me more about Paul. Why'd you pick him over so many other people?
Oh, my God. He came close to the Triple Crown.
So did Judge, you could argue, yeah.
Yes. A lot of home runs, a lot of RBIs. I think he hit 330-something for this year. I mean, he really had a phenomenal year. I thought he was the key to the Cardinals' success. And in the middle of the lineup, you couldn't get him out.
35 home runs, 115 RBIs, batted .317.
Go ahead.
On base .404, slugging .578.
That's a damn good year.
That's a damn good year. It's an MVP year. I just don't know if it's the best. He was not on my list whatsoever for first baseman.
I go deep dive in my research.
I know you do. I am well aware. Okay, let me look. Okay, so you got first base.
Yep.
Other pick?
The left fielder, going back in time, but one of the great players, still has the respect to everyone in baseball. Harmon Killebrew is my left fielder.
Keep talking to me about Harmon.
Harmon was unbelievable. He was played in huge stadiums, but he still had 40-plus home runs per year. A good, massive man that was very athletic, way ahead of his time, his size, and his size and stature, and was a leader when the Twins were phenomenal with Rod Carew and that whole crew that they had in Minnesota. Harmon was the bat to clean up and was, 9-10 times All-Stars. He was the king out there, one number 3, and was a big, big man.
So I really hate to tell you this, but he did not play left field the year that he got the MVP.
What did he play then?
Third base.
Interesting.
So he is, everything you said about him was really nice and good.
Okay.
But at that point, he was a third baseman.
Interesting. I thought he went out the outfield earlier in his career.
He started in the outfield.
Yeah.
But then came more in the infield.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Early to mid-60s, he was in the left a whole bunch. But the last time he played left field was 1966.
Okay. And his MVP was in
69.
Okay. Well, then I'm going with speed and a guy that set record upon record for stolen bases, Rickey Henderson, and I know he's a left fielder.
He is on my board. 1990, those Oakland A's years that were quite good. 28 home runs, 61 RBIs. That was not Rickey's focus.
He was leadoff.
Yep, and he had 65 steals that year. A down year for Rickey Henderson in terms of steals. Batted .325. On base was .439, and slugging was .577. Again, kind of average, but you needed a leadoff hitter. That's fair. Rickey, not on anywhere near my left fielders, but I will put... We weren't really touching each other's picks right now.
You drafted a lot of people that are 1 and 2 on my list, yes.
Gotta focus. You were just so Clemente focused. Right field was deep.
I didn't want to take Griffey because I wanted you to have him.
No, that's not how drafting works.
It's okay.
You gotta take who you can. Honestly, there's a significantly better center fielder than Judge that was on the list too. But again, beating the home run record I know is good. We'll see if it's truly clean in a couple years. If we did this board after 1998, we'd have chosen Sosa and McGuire. But
yeah.
All right, so it is back to me. You have how many picks do you have left? 2?
I think
one.
I have my pitchers. I have first base. I gotta go second base and catcher. I got 2 picks left.
Okay, then I'll have the last pick. All right. So then I think I have to do DH because my bullpen and pitcher have been set for me. I kind of say that's a great value for these guys. I am double-checking some facts and figures between 2 at the moment. That's a really hard number to ignore. Do I have any leadoff hitters? Yeah, I could put Lou or Jackie if I had to. I have to draft Hammer and Hank Aaron, 1957 Hank Aaron. Almost went, actually, no, I won't say who I almost went with. Dad, in 57, Hank Aaron, first off, somehow only a one-time MVP winner. That doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the facts. 57, early in his years in Milwaukee, he hit 44 home runs, 132 RBIs, 322 batting average, 378 on base, but slugged at 600. I had to choose Hammer and Hank Aaron for there.
He was only a one-time MVP?
Only a one-time MVP.
That's hard to believe.
I know. Only one time.
Wow.
Yeah. You can see all this other stuff. But 2 times a batting title, 57 World Series, so that,
wow.
I feel like I get that too.
With all the home run records he set, you think he'd be MVP along the way?
He never set it for the season. He just was a steady home run hitter that
he always had 35 to 40.
Yeah. He does have a record for most All-Star games ever, 25. Yeah. So I'm going to go with that. And my second to last pick has got to be my pitcher. Who was my number 1 pick? Bob Gibson was second. I'm going Sandy Koufax in 63. That's the 2 options. There really isn't a third. Sandy, Dad.
That's true.
More wins than Bob and less losses. Bob went 22-9. Both were Cy Young winners, obviously. Koufax went 25-5. Now, Bob had a better ERA, 1.12. Koufax only had a 1.88. It's hard to say one's really better than the other.
Bob Gibson
statistically, ERA, yes, but let me get you the better innings. So, Bob Gibson is allegedly... No, I love Bob. Forget Cardinal fans. But I got to win this draft. Bob Gibson, allegedly a workhorse. Koufax threw more innings the year he got Cy Young. And they're in the same league. He also struck out almost 40 more batters. Koufax had 300 strikeouts the year he got MVP. Bob only had 268. So with him throwing more, striking more people out, winning more games, losing less games, I'm okay with a slightly higher ERA. But 4 out of the 5 main pitching categories, Koufax had a better year. Tough. And again, it's just a year. It's not overall their seasons. Overall their career. It's just their individual MVP seasons. Dad, who's your last pick?
I have 2 more picks.
Oh, who's your 2? Sorry.
Second base, Rod Carew.
He's my first. He was my DH option. Okay, cool. Actually, let me hold on. Rod Carew that year I think was a first baseman. He was a first baseman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna go with Ryne Sandberg.
Tell me. Oh, I got more about Sandberg, but feel free as a Cubs fan to say more.
What a steal he was from the Phillies. He was a throw-in with the Larry Boa trade, by the way. And he was like a double-A player. And the Cubs got all the Dallas Green people and the Phillies front office to go to Chicago with Dallas Green. And somebody knew that he had potential. He was a skinny little kid and didn't have any power. He got to Chicago. They taught him how to pull. And then the rest is history. And he was a fantastic second baseman, a really good athlete. He was a college scholarship offer for a quarterback. So he fit the bill at second base for the Cubs for a long time and was one of their stars and still revered in Chicago.
He might have been my third or fourth pick in that position. 1984 was the MVP year. He was a Gold Glove and Silver Slugger, but not an All-Star, just like Chipper Jones that year. Batted .314, on base, .367, .520 slugging. Same amount of home runs and triples than the last time that's happened. 19 home runs, 19 triples, and 84 RBIs. Great year as a second baseman. But maybe it's just because I have all these Altuve and Pedroia years in my head that I just couldn't wrap my head around. That just seemed like an average MVP season for a second baseman. Still fantastic. I think my Jackie pick trumps in pretty much every category but home runs, 16 to 19. But yeah, we'll get into it. We're excited to see the debate with the fans. Dad, was that your last pick? Or you have one more?
One more catcher, Ivan Rodriguez.
In 1999.
Yep.
Okay.
That completes my roster.
Now, I've already kind of compared these two picks. I love Ivan Rodriguez. Again, All-Star, Silver Slugger, Gold Glove, all the same. Pudge's numbers 332, 356, 558, all less than Joe's that year. But still a absolutely fantastic catcher, one of my favorites. I'm wearing him right now. You couldn't go wrong in either pick. Dad, my last pick is my closer, and it's Willie Hernandez.
Ha!
1984 Willie Hernandez. I'm going to tell you why I like him more than Eck.
Oh, this would be good.
All right. So, both were Cy Youngs, so they have that equal. Eckersley was 7-1 with a 1.91 ERA. Hernandez was 9-3, had more wins, sure, more losses, 1.92 ERA. Virtually the same with ERA. Eck threw 69 games for 80 innings. Hernandez threw 80 games, a league leading and a decade leading stat, and had 140 innings. That's a very impressive thing for a reliever. He had 32 saves, only 19 less than Eck, and had 112 strikeouts, 20 more than Eck. So Eckersley, the best ninth inning pick, sure, but I'm taking Hernandez, so if my Koufax can only go 7, I'm very fine with giving Hernandez the ball 8 to 9. You have to pry the ball out of Bob Gibson's hand after he gives up a couple runs to my squad.
Apparently he didn't because he's a 1.1 something ERA.
Yeah, how many losses did he have that year, though? Yikes.
Yeah, because he lost 1-0 because
he lost 9 times. I bet there were more than 1-0 games.
If you think the ERA, he threw a lot of shutouts.
I guess you got to be on a better team like Sandy Koufax. Build my team around him. Dad, I will run through my...
You always have to have the last word.
I do, because I need to win these drafts. There's been years where I haven't won them. Dad, my starter is Koufax. Yours is Gibson. I think that's a pretty close thing. I'm not going to pick a winner. I'll let the people at home pick a winner. Your relief pitcher, Dad, is Eckersley.
Yeah.
And mine's Willie Hernandez. You win by the name, but by stats, we will again let the people at home pick. Let's go around at catcher. I'll go right here. It's Mauer versus Pudge. I have just explained to you all the reasons Joe Mauer was better. I'm going to go ahead and give myself the win there. I don't see the counter. We'll get to you, don't worry. Now, Willie McCovey at first base versus Paul Goldschmidt. I think, again, it's nice of you to play, but Willie McCovey just had such a better year. 45 home runs, 126 RBIs, and beat Paul in every other category. Second baseman, Jackie Robinson and Ryne Sandberg. Dad, are you going to say anything? Got any comments?
You know what? I mean, both are Hall of Fame second basemen. Both had longevity. Jackie came into baseball under the worst circumstances. I really respect what he did and how tough he was mentally to go through everything he did in the major leagues. He has my respect and admiration. I really think that, he was great for the game of baseball, and he was tough, mentally and physically. So I do like Jackie. He was my first pick.
Lou Boudreau over Barry Larkin. I think that's a pretty easy pick, too. And then I'm going to give you, Dad, George Brett's the better pick over Chipper Jones, as George Brett was my first pick in that category. Oh, let's get to left field. This seems kind of simple. Yaz, Dad, or Rickey Henderson?
I would choose Yaz.
Griffey or Judge?
Griffey.
I think I'm winning this draft. And then Larry Walker or Clemente?
Clemente.
And we can disagree there. That's fine.
Come on.
Clemente, look at Larry Walker's numbers. He had a better year.
Okay, defensively.
He got a Gold Glove, too. It's just that year. It's not his career.
I know.
It's not career. Career, you win. But just
if you were doing a lineup and chose between those two.
But we're not. We're doing a draft of MVP years.
No. Just pretend you're doing a lineup.
Oh, I'd pick Clemente.
Okay.
But again, this is not what that is. It's because, again, career, you're going to pick Dennis Eckersley over Willie Hernandez. But we're only picking the MVP years. That's what makes this a challenging draft. And then Hank Aaron versus Ichiro Suzuki. Very tough because Suzuki, Dad, to tell me what I actually like you getting Suzuki here over Hank Aaron. I know what I just said. Do you know there's been 2 MVP Rookie of the Years? Do you know Suzuki's one of them?
Now, Suzuki was my DH. Was Aaron your DH?
Suzuki was my second choice in right field.
Okay. But I had him as my DH.
I had Hank Aaron as my DH.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather play Larry Walker because he earned a Gold Glove that year,
yeah.
And Hank Aaron did not. I don't know if Gold Glove was a thing then, to be honest. Do you know the only other Rookie of the Year MVP?
Recently, you think?
No, it's not recent.
Long time ago.
Suzuki is the most recent, and then I'll give you the year, 75. So rookie started in 75. And
Fred Lynn?
That's correct. Fred Lynn. Gold Glover and All-Star that year, too.
I think I win a prize, don't I?
No. All right. Dad, let's look at leadoff hitters.
Oh, I got you there.
We have many. Suzuki can be a leadoff. Henderson can be a leadoff. Barry Larkin could lead off if he had to.
I'm going Henderson. It's a double as soon as he gets on.
Your 3-hitter is Clemente or Judge? Or Goldschmidt. Those are your 3 big hitters.
Goldschmidt, third.
Okay. So your 3, 4, 5 in some order is Goldschmidt, Clemente, and Judge.
That's a hell of a 3, 4, 5.
So mine would be Griffey, Yaz, Willie McCovey.
I think it's almost even.
Larry Walker becomes 6. I think maybe the 3, 4, 5's even, but I think you lose in the depth because you got people rounding out like Larkin and Sandberg, and then
Sandberg's not a bad 6 hitter.
But then you got Pudge. Where are you going to put Pudge? I'm very curious for folks at home who drafted a better MVP team. Names that got left out.
Oh my God, there's a huge amount.
List some of your second choices. Maybe that I didn't say.
I like Orlando Cepeda.
He was your second choice at something?
He was first base. He had a phenomenal. He was a great player.
So you had Paul Goldschmidt as your first choice, and then Cepeda?
Yeah.
So Willie McCovey's not even near that.
No, he was my first choice.
Okay, then Willie McCovey wins. What the hell?
Well.
No. If your board should have only been 2 deep.
Yeah. Well,
what are the 2s that didn't get chosen?
Okay. I'm sorry.
I assume you only went 2 deep. But there's no.
I did, 3 or 4. But they got taken by you.
It couldn't be both taken. Here, I'll go while you look.
Yastrzemski was one.
I took Dad.
I know that, but I'm just saying he was in my choices of drafting.
I'll show you what I mean.
Okay.
So Jeff Bagel's 1994 season should be noted. He had such a great year that was cut short by the strike that who knows what he could have hit. That's the real argument that, hey, he didn't have a complete year. I mean, you can hear that. But 39 home runs, 116 RBIs, and I don't even think 116 games. Batting at the time, 368, 451, and 750, which is one of the highest slugging percentages on here, if not the highest. But again, it was a short season. What do you do with that?
Do you know what college you went to?
No, I don't. Jeff Kent was my second choice for second base. He had such a power year in the year 2000. Where's Jeff Kent's stats? 334, 424, 596, 33 home runs, 125 RBIs. I had J-Roll. I had Jimmy Rollins, his 2007 at shortstop. 20 triples, 30 home runs, 41 stolen bases. I kind of like that 20, 30, 40 number. 94 RBIs, but did not even clear 300. But I loved everything watching him play that year. Jim Rice in left field was a good backup for me. And then Willie McGee, if I didn't get Ken Griffey Jr., would be my pick in 85. Talk about a leadoff hitter that had 56 steals, batted 383. Super underrated choice and earned that MVP year. Okay. Dad, did you find any other second choices that weren't taken?
No. I think between the two of us, we covered a lot of good ones. But some of the names that, were not on anyone's list are phenomenal players. Brooks at third base did not get,
Offensively, Brooks was never competitive.
Right, but I'm just saying, think of the great names that were on there that just didn't make it. Phil Cavaretta, which was a catcher for the Cubs, apparently unbelievable player. Hank Greenberg out of the Tigers, very, very good player. Neither one of us took Shohei.
Yeah, Shohei's tough because pitching-wise, he doesn't stack up to anyone on the list. DH-wise, he doesn't stack up to Hank Aaron because they got to solely focus on one thing.
But just the great names that didn't make the cut that were just phenomenal. So, that's, and then the year that Dick Allen had at first base, it was a great, great year. It just didn't make the cut because there were so many good players.
I'm just glad we did this because it's not just talking about, again, you took Paul Goldschmidt and Aaron Judge. I like reminding people of some of the older years that, hey, Lou Boudreau's season at shortstop in 48 is still the best season at shortstop in my opinion. Jackie Robinson's 49 is the best second baseman season. I know that we've had power with Altuve and Pedroia. I didn't even look at Cano for obvious reasons.
But Jackie, let's face it, he deserves all the recognition he can get.
Exactly.
Because, I think he got to the majors in his late 20s, mid-20s.
Well, he was playing major leagues.
Right, but I'm just saying, getting to Brooklyn and everything else,
mid-late 20s.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, I think he did 2 seasons before his 49 year.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that we got to highlight a few, maybe some non-Hall of Famers like Willie Hernandez and Willie McGee, Jeff Kent, or some not-so-famous Hall of Famers like Larry Walker that, really got to just showcase who they are. I love Barry Larkin. I always think he gets, he was in that just after Ozzie and just before the No Marge Jeters and all that stuff, so I think people forget on Barry Larkin. But I love watching him play. So I had fun doing this, Dad. It got us prepped for basically 6 hours worth of talking in a week. So how about this, Dad, to close it out? Out of all the positions, who had the best overall single-season MVP?
Whew, that's a great question.
Out of who we drafted, it's got to come probably from that list. Who would you pick as the single-season best MVP?
Wow.
Obviously, I know pitchers it's hard to measure, so I'm only going to look at hitters just because you can't compare apples and oranges right now.
I think Griffey's there, and I think I would have to go Griffey.
Yeah, I go Griffey too as a single season one-timer. I know there's a lot of other people that won it multiple times.
Plus, he played a tough position. You got to give
center
credit
field.
for playing center field in a big ballpark.
Yeah.
So, I think I'd go with Griffey.
Cool. I would as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll sign off by saying, hey, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube right below you. We really appreciate it. We're almost at 100 episodes, so we will be breaking that before the new year, which is really fun to say. We'll have some sort of celebration. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Pastime Podcast _, and we're the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on Facebook.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Gobble, gobble!